for being here. Thanks for having us. This is one of my favorite things to do, and it makes the season kind of feel like it's really happening, you know? So
Kickoff.
yes, it's our kickoff for the season. So I am not sure I've ever read from any of my stories in the Magic and Mayhem universe, but what it is a sort of Kindle for a while had something called Kindle Worlds, where an author would, give permission to use their characters and their universe, and other authors would write stories set in that. Well, then they got rid of it. But an author named Robin Peterman, she said, well, I'm just going to go over to another place and do it myself. And so she did. And October 25th, we will be having our 8th blast off. I have actually written 5 books in this series. So, and I have a trilogy of stories, and then this is the second trilogy that I'm working on right now. And it follows a weather witch named Wilma Vetter from Germany. And she, in the first book, which is called Fang Me 3 Times, she, did I mention it's funny paranormal? So it's very silly. She is doing a weather forecast in the city of Ass Jacket, West Virginia, which is a magical city. And she comes across these 3 rock stars just wandering around in the woods, and they don't realize that they've been turned into vampires. And so the first book deals with how the heck did they become vampires, what's happening, and oh my goodness, of course, one of them is her mate. So now at the very end of Fang Me 3 Times, and this isn't a huge spoiler because it's a romance, so you know they're going to end up together. Gus, her paramour, gets a little fangy, and so now Wilma is not only a cursed weather witch who had her magic hidden from her for her whole life because of a ages, generations long hex, but now she has this mate, and now she is a vampire as well. So we're going to jump into the action right away in the next book, which is coming out October 25th, and it's called Fantastic Four. Twister at 2 o'clock, Jacob called out as Jules swerved on the gravel highway. I can't keep from skidding on this ice, Jules said. How the hell can the road be freezing, and yet it's hot as hell outside? The thermometer says it's 103. Wilma, honey, Jacob asked, his voice a higher octave than normal. Do you think you could maybe... Watch out, Freddie shouted. There's an avalanche starting up on the left. Turn, turn, turn. Jules yanked the steering wheel to the right, narrowly avoiding the huge snowdrift in front of us. The van fishtailed as she turned into my driveway, golf ball-sized hail pounding the roof of the van. Take a deep breath, Gus said in my ear. Everything is going to be all right. He wrapped me in his arms and started humming. I focused on his voice and breathed in the nice and slow through my nose, and the brightest moon I'd ever seen came out from behind the clouds. I'd only been a vampire for about an hour or so, and the bite that brought me to this state somehow managed to break my lifelong curse. I would have been thrilled if I hadn't turned into a walking Weather Channel disaster. Jules pulled up to the Cravenly Manor and parked the van with a jerk. We're here. She pressed a hand to her forehead. Thank the goddess. Jacob clapped his hands together. Ha! Damn, that was fun. My eyes burned as if I might cry, and the sky opened up, a torrential downpour cascading over the windshield. You mind letting us out? I asked Jules through the metal gate that separated the cab of the van from the rear. If I didn't get out of this van, I was going to flood the damn thing. I'd already done enough damage today. Jules groaned and opened the van door, getting instantly soaked by the rain cloud that had followed us from Wichita's bar. I'm sorry about this. I started to say rain, but she slammed the door. A moment later, she was at the back doors of the van, which she unlocked and threw open. She ran back to the cab, hopped in her seat, and locked the door again. No offense, Wilma, but y'all need to get your fangs under control. I love you to pieces, but I don't want to be your meal. None taken, I said with a sigh. I was hungry, but so far I hadn't been as ravenous as the guys were. Mac thought perhaps it was my magic and disposition that kept me from attacking every bare neck I could find, but I wasn't too sure. To be safe, Jules had locked us all in the back cage of her van, and we'd left Wichita's in a hurry before I could hurt anyone. Because, see, things had kind of gotten hot and heavy in the bar's back booth, and my new paramour had given me a third bite, and despite the fact that I was a witch, he turned me into a vampire. So that happened. Gus squeezed my hand. Thanks for the ride, Jules, he said, and then gestured for his cousins to get out. Sure, she said. And Wilma, I'm sorry. Mac was adamant that you need to remain on house arrest until you go through your fanger mentorship and get the weather under control. Of course. Did he say anything else? Like, does he have any ideas on how I might do this? Is there a mentor for wayward witches? He only said he'll be over in a couple days to check on you guys, and if you need anything, to call him or Zelda. Jules shrugged. Thanks, I said. I'm really sorry, Jules. No, I'm sorry, Wilma. I feel like I should have done more to protect you. What will you do? Lightning cracked, illuminating the sky and my massive stone mansion. The towers loomed over the circular driveway like guardians against the black night. However, it would be just as easy to mistake them for keeping inhabitants inside, as prisoners, which is what this felt like. Figure it out? Go through my vampire mentorship with Jacob, I suppose? And do something about all this? I'm a menace on all counts. Jules's brow furrowed. I'm sorry. I promise I'll handle everything at the news station. Jack will appreciate the extra time on screen. Jack Russell, the news anchor I'd hired at my station, WASS, certainly liked to look at himself and hear himself talk. He was great with the news, however, and the citizens of Ass Jacket were starting to tune in. He'd been asking for more airtime and more responsibilities. Guess his wish was coming true. Thank you, I said, and I promise I'll get things under control. Jules gave me an unsure smile. She was so not a fan of vampires. Before she met me, she'd only spent time with shifters, and I think the fact that I'd been cursed and had no witchy powers made her more comfortable with me. Now that I'd been turned and my curse was broken, I hoped I hadn't lost my best friend. I climbed out of the van, and Gus jumped down behind me much more gracefully, seeing as he'd had several days of vampire lessons under his belt. The rain soaked us as we ran for the front door, which opened as I approached. Once inside, we wrung out our clothes and tried to catch our breath. Thank goodness you're home, young lady. Oh, we have guests. Bertram hovered at the base of the grand staircase. Bertram, please meet Gus, his cousins Vinny and Freddie, and you may already know Mac's brother Jacob. Guys, this is Bertram, my housemate. How do you do? And yes, Jacob, lovely to see you again. It's been quite some time since you were just a pup. Please, come inside. I'll get the fire lit for you. The door closed behind us with a loud crack, and the four men jumped. They're going to be staying with us for a while. Bertram's eyebrows rose, but he nodded and remained composed. I turned to lead the guys to the parlor, but found Gus and his cousins gaping after Bertram's retreating figure. Guys, is that? Bertram Cravenly, Jacob said, shaking out the long strands of his wet hair. Lord of Cravenly Manor. He pointed toward the giant portrait hanging at the top of the stairs. Formerly, Bert Craven, silent film star. Vinny gasped. I knew I'd seen him before. Our abuelita loves the old films. I've probably seen every film the guy's ever made. Days in the Sun is freaking brilliant. How is this possible? He's a ghost, Jacob said. He strolled toward the parlor. He's been haunting these halls as long as I've been alive. Freddie frowned. How old are you anyway? Jacob raised his eyebrows. It's 2021? I guess that makes me right around 68. No way. How old is Mac? Vinny asked him. Older, Jacob said with a smirk. Vinny and Freddie followed him into the parlor. I could see the light from the massive fireplace through the doorway. It was Bertram's favorite upgrade to the house, gas fireplaces. Wilma? Gus stood before me, concern oozing from him. The poor man. I'd put him in a difficult position, practically begging him to bite me back at the bar, and now he was saddled with a broken witch who was also a vampire and who was spinning out of control before his very eyes. Oh, and I was very likely his mate. Gus, I'm sorry. I'm not at all. I'm only sorry that you're hurting and afraid, but I promise we'll figure this out. I will stand by you. Oh, Gus, I said, cupping his jaw with my shaking hand. You're a sweet man, but this isn't something you can help me with. He shoved his hands in his back pockets and winced. I know we're supposedly magical creatures, or at least Max seems to think we're muses. I grinned up at him. It makes sense. Your music is very powerful. Thank you. It's what we love to do, what we were born to do. Literally, I guess. And thank the goddess for that, I murmured. I pressed my hand to my chest as if I could keep my lustful feelings from getting away from me. When you sing, I'll sing for you anytime, he said. I wanted to believe in a future where that was possible. Gus and his cousins had been turned into vampires by some groupies who wanted to be sure no harm ever came to them again. A bus accident nearly claimed their lives and led to the disappearance of their bandmate. The remaining members of the miscreants, Gus, Freddie, and Vinny, had returned to the outskirts of Ass Jacket to search for him. They found a vampire bar instead. Gus's dark brown eyes widened. Cariño, I know I'm not a witch and cannot help you with your magic, but if what you said before is true, I am your mate and my place is beside you. If only it were that simple.